My beloved child, listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not ordinary and not something meant for everyone. Your spirit was guided here for a reason, and that reason is urgent. There is someone moving quietly around, your soulmate, someone whose intentions are not pure, someone who smiles in front but carries a hidden agenda behind closed doors, and right now the divine is preparing to expose them completely, but you must stay alert, because the moment of revelation is close and the signs are already unfolding around you in subtle ways that only a spiritually aware person like you can truly notice. This is not about fear, this is about awareness, because when truth begins to rise, anything built on deception starts to shake and crumble, and the person surrounding your soulmate has been playing a role for far too long, pretending to be supportive, pretending to be loyal, pretending to care, but deep inside there is jealousy, there is manipulation, and there is an energy that does not align with the future that is meant for you and your soulmate together, and the universe cannot allow that interference to continue any longer, which is why things are beginning to shift. Conversations are starting to feel different, behaviors are becoming inconsistent, and small cracks are forming in the image they worked so hard to maintain. You may have already sensed something, felt something off, but couldn't fully explain it. That feeling was not random. It was your intuition trying to warn you that something behind the scenes is not right, and now everything is aligning for the truth to come into the light in a way that cannot be denied. And when it happens, it will feel sudden, it will feel shocking, and it will feel like everything finally makes sense, because the confusion you once felt will be replaced with clarity so sharp that you will wonder how you ever doubted yourself in the first place. This person around your soulmate has been influencing their thoughts in subtle ways, planting seeds of doubt, creating misunderstandings, and sometimes even blocking communication without your soulmate fully realizing it, because manipulation often hides behind familiarity, it hides behind trust, and that is why it has taken time for the truth to surface. But divine timing is never wrong, it moves with precision, and right now that precision is targeting the exposure of this hidden influence. You must understand that not everyone who is close to your soulmate truly wants to see them happy, especially not in a connection that is destined and powerful like yours, because your bond carries a rare energy, one that threatens those who operate from insecurity and control, and that threat makes them act in ways that are not always obvious but always intentional. And the more your connection grows spiritually, the more uncomfortable this person becomes, because they can feel that they are losing control, and when control starts slipping, people reveal their true nature without even realizing it. They become restless, they make mistakes, they say things they shouldn't say, and they begin to expose themselves piece by piece until there is no mask left to hide behind. And that is exactly what is happening now. The energy around your soulmate is shifting in a way that will force truth into the open, and you will start to notice that the same person who once seemed supportive begins to act distant or overly involved in a way that feels unnatural. They may try harder to insert themselves into situations, they may attempt to create urgency or drama where there is none, and they may even try to turn your soulmate against you subtly by twisting words or exaggerating situations. But what they don't realize is that their actions are only accelerating their own exposure, because when someone tries too hard to control a narrative, they eventually contradict themselves, and those contradictions cannot stay hidden forever. Your role in this moment is not to react emotionally but to observe wisely, because reacting too quickly can create confusion, while observing allows truth to reveal itself fully without interference. You are being guided to stay grounded, to trust what you feel, and to not ignore the signs that are becoming more obvious each day, because the truth is not coming to harm you, it is coming to protect your connection, it is coming to clear away what does not belong, so that what is meant for you can finally move forward without resistance. And your soulmate may not see everything immediately, they may even Defend this person at first because trust takes time to break, but once the truth fully surfaces there will be no denying it, and that realization will be powerful. It will shift their perspective completely and make them see your connection in a new light, one that is no longer clouded by outside influence, and that moment will be a turning point because once illusions are broken they cannot be rebuilt the same way again, and the person who tried to interfere will lose their power, not because you fought them but because truth exposed them, and truth does not need force, it only needs time, and right now that time is unfolding in your favor. So remain patient, remain aware, and most importantly remain aligned with your inner voice because it has been guiding you correctly all along, and what is about to be revealed will confirm everything you once felt but could not prove, and when that confirmation comes it will not just bring clarity, it will bring peace because you will finally understand why certain delays happened, why certain moments felt blocked, and why things didn't move the way you expected, because there was something hidden that needed to be uncovered first, and now that it is coming into the light nothing will be able to stand in the way of what is truly meant for you and your soulmate together. So do not fear what is coming, embrace it, because exposure is not destruction, it is correction, it is the universe realigning everything so that truth can stand where illusion once existed. And once that alignment is complete, the path ahead will become clearer, stronger, and more protected than ever before, and you will move forward not with doubt but with certainty, knowing that what remains is real, what remains is pure, and what remains is exactly what was meant to stay in your life all along. Now as this energy continues to unfold you need to understand something even deeper, because what is happening is not just about someone being exposed, it is about a hidden pattern finally breaking, and when patterns break they do not go quietly, they resist, they react, and sometimes they create one last wave of confusion before everything settles into truth. So if you begin to notice sudden shifts in your soulmate's behavior, moments where they seem distant or unsure or even slightly influenced by emotions that do not feel like their own, do not panic, because this is part of the unraveling. This is what happens when someone who has been under subtle influence starts to wake up without fully realizing what they are waking up from, and during this phase things can feel unstable, conversations may not flow the same way, misunderstandings may appear out of nowhere, and timing may feel off, but none of this is permanent, it is simply the surface reaction of something deeper being corrected, and the person who has been interfering will begin to feel this shift very strongly because they can sense that their influence is weakening, and when someone who thrives on control starts losing it, they often try one last attempt to regain it. They might become more present than usual, more involved, more opinionated, or even try to create situations where your soulmate feels pressured to choose sides without directly saying it, and this is where your awareness becomes your greatest strength, because you will be able to see through what others cannot. You will notice the patterns, you will feel the inconsistencies, and you will understand that not everything being said or done is coming from a place of truth, and your calmness in this moment will protect your connection more than any reaction ever could, because the more grounded you remain, the more clearly everything will reveal itself without distortion, and at the same time your soulmate is going through an internal conflict that they may not even fully understand, yet there is a part of them that feels something is off, a quiet voice inside them that is beginning to question things they once accepted without doubt, and that voice is growing stronger day by day, even if they are not openly expressing it. And this is important because once that inner questioning begins, it cannot be silenced, it can only be delayed, and delay is no longer an option because the truth has already started moving into their awareness, and the more they try to ignore The more obvious it becomes through actions, through words, and through moments that feel too coincidental to dismiss, and you may even notice that certain truths come out in unexpected ways, like slips of the tongue or situations where stories do not align, or reactions that feel exaggerated for no clear reason. These are not random, these are signs of something hidden losing its balance, and when balance is lost, exposure follows naturally. And what you must not do during this time is force clarity before it is ready, because forcing answers can sometimes push people deeper into confusion. Instead, allow the truth to unfold in its own time, because when it does, it will come with undeniable evidence, not just feelings, not just suspicions, but clear, undeniable moments that make everything impossible to ignore. And once those moments arrive, your soulmate will begin to connect the dots. They will start seeing things from a perspective they never had before, and they will realize that the person they trusted may not have had their best interests at heart, and that realization can be heavy. It can bring feelings of disappointment, even guilt for not seeing it sooner, but it will also bring strength, because awareness always leads to growth, and once someone becomes aware of manipulation, they rarely fall into it again the same way. And this is where your connection begins to transform, because the external interference that once created distance will no longer have the same power, and your soulmate will begin to value your presence in a deeper way. They will start recognizing the difference between genuine connection and forced influence, and that difference will become so clear that it will naturally pull them closer to you, not out of obligation but out of understanding and truth. And at the same time, the person being exposed will not disappear immediately. They may try to defend themselves, they may attempt to shift blame, or even create narratives to protect their image, but the difference now is that those narratives will no longer hold the same weight, because once trust is cracked, it does not return to its original form easily, and every attempt they make to fix their image will only reveal more inconsistencies and more truth, and eventually even they will realize that the control they once had is gone, and when control is gone, their presence will slowly fade, because they can no longer operate in the same way. And all of this is happening not to create chaos but to restore balance, because your connection was never meant to be influenced by hidden intentions. It was meant to grow in clarity, in honesty, and in alignment. And sometimes for that to happen, what is hidden must first be revealed, so that what is real can finally stand without obstruction. And as this process continues, you will feel a shift within yourself as well, a stronger sense of knowing, a deeper sense of calm, and a clarity that replaces the confusion you once carried. And that clarity is your confirmation that everything is moving exactly as it should, even if it does not look perfect in the moment, because transformation rarely looks clean while it is happening, but once it is complete, everything makes sense in a way that feels undeniable and grounding. And this is where you must trust not just the process but yourself, because you were never wrong for feeling what you felt. You were simply early in seeing what others could not yet see, and now they are catching up to the truth that your intuition already recognized long ago. And when everything finally settles, when the exposure is complete and the influence is gone, what will remain is a connection that is stronger than before, not because it avoided challenges but because it survived truth. And truth has a way of strengthening what is real while removing what is not, and that is exactly what is happening now. Piece by piece, moment by moment, everything is being realigned so that what belongs in your life stays, and what does not is revealed and released without you having to force anything at all. As everything reaches its final stage, you are about to witness the moment where nothing can stay hidden anymore, because truth does not knock softly forever. It eventually enters with force, and when it does, it changes everything at once. And this is the phase where your patience begins to pay off, because all the quiet observations, all the feelings you held without reacting, all the moments you chose silence over chaos, are now aligning to reveal a picture so clear that there will be no room left for doubt, and your soulmate will begin to see things in a way they never did before, not through influence, not through confusion, but through their own awakened understanding. And this shift will feel powerful because it will not come from you explaining or proving anything, it will come from them realizing it on their own. And that kind of realization cannot be reversed, because once someone sees the truth with their own eyes, it becomes a permanent awareness that reshapes how they view everything around them. And in that moment, the person who once stood close to them with hidden intentions will no longer be able to maintain their position, because their energy will feel different, their words will feel forced, and their presence will no longer carry the same trust it once did. And your soulmate will begin to distance themselves naturally, not out of anger but out of clarity, because clarity creates boundaries without effort, and those boundaries will grow stronger each day as more truth becomes undeniable. And you may even notice a sudden shift in how your soulmate communicates with you. There will be more honesty, more openness, and a deeper sense of connection, because the invisible wall that once stood between you will no longer exist, and what replaces it is understanding, an understanding that was delayed but never denied. And this is where your connection enters a new phase, one that is no longer affected by outside interference, because the source of that interference has been exposed and weakened to the point where it can no longer operate in the same way. And while this may seem like an ending for that person, it is actually a beginning for you and your soulmate, because what has been cleared was never meant to stay, it was only there to test the strength of what you share. And now that test is coming to a close, and the result is something stronger than before, something that carries both awareness and truth. And at the same time, you will notice a change within yourself, a sense of calm that replaces the tension you once felt, a confidence in your intuition that no longer seeks validation, and a quiet strength that allows you to move forward without second-guessing what you feel, because everything you once questioned is now being confirmed in real time. And that confirmation will not be loud, it will not need dramatic proof, it will show itself through consistent actions, through aligned words, and through a feeling of peace that settles within you as everything begins to make sense. And the person who tried to interfere may attempt one last reaction, they may try to explain themselves, justify their actions, or even create a final moment of confusion, but it will not have the same effect, because by that point the truth will already be too clear, and your soulmate will no longer respond the same way, because awareness changes reactions. And once someone becomes aware of manipulation, they stop engaging with it in the same manner. And this is where the final separation happens, not always physically but energetically, because even if that person remains in the background, their influence will be gone, their words will carry no weight, and their presence will no longer affect the direction of your connection. And that is the true ending, not just distance but loss of control. And once control is gone, everything else fades naturally, and what remains is something that was always meant to grow without interference, your bond, your understanding, your connection built on something real. And this is where you must recognize that what you went through was not meant to break you, it was meant to prepare you, because now you understand the difference between genuine energy and hidden intention. Now you can see beyond words and recognize truth through feeling, and that awareness will protect you not just in this situation but in everything that follows. And as you move forward, you will no longer carry the same doubts, because doubt was created by confusion, and confusion was created by interference, and now both have been removed, leaving only clarity, and that clarity will guide your next steps without hesitation, and your soulmate will begin to align with that same clarity, making choices that reflect truth rather than influence, and those choices will bring you closer in a way that feels natural, not forced, not rushed, but steady and real. And this is the moment where everything finally stabilizes, where what was uncertain becomes certain, where what was hidden becomes visible, and where what was delayed finally begins to move forward without resistance. And you will realize that the exposure you once feared was actually the protection you needed, because without it the truth would have remained hidden and your connection would have continued to face unseen obstacles. But now those obstacles are gone, and the path ahead is open, clear, and aligned with what was always meant for you. And as you step into this new phase, remember this: you did not lose anything that was truly meant for you. You only lost what was never aligned with your future, and what remains is stronger because it has been tested by truth and strengthened by clarity and protected by awareness, and that is something no outside influence can ever break again. As this final phase settles into your reality, what you are stepping into now is not just relief but transformation, because after truth has done its work, nothing returns to the way it used to be, and that is exactly how it is meant to happen, because what you and your soulmate are entering is a higher level of connection, one that is no longer easily shaken by outside voices, no longer confused by mixed signals, and no longer delayed by hidden interference. And you will begin to feel this shift in very real ways, through the way conversations start to flow again, through the way misunderstandings suddenly disappear, and through the way your soulmate begins to show up with a clarity and consistency that once felt blocked and uncertain. And this is not coincidence, this is the result of everything that has just been cleared from your path, because when something false is removed, what is real naturally rises without effort, and your soulmate will start to act from their own truth instead of reacting to subtle influences that once clouded their judgment. And this will feel different, it will feel steady, it will feel genuine, and most importantly, it will feel aligned with what you always believed your connection could be but could not fully experience until now. And at the same time, you will also notice that your own energy has changed. You are no longer questioning every detail, you are no longer trying to decode every action, because clarity has replaced confusion, and with that clarity comes peace, a peace that allows you to simply exist within the connection instead of constantly analyzing it. And that peace is your confirmation that the storm has passed, even if small echoes of it still appear occasionally, because sometimes remnants of old energy try to linger for a short while, but they cannot survive in an environment that is now built on awareness and truth. And if the person who was exposed attempts to re-enter in any way, you will immediately feel the difference, because your awareness is sharper now, your intuition is louder now, and your tolerance for anything misaligned is lower than it has ever been. And this is not you becoming distant or cold, this is you becoming aligned with your own value. And once you reach that point, you naturally reject anything that does not match it without needing to force boundaries, because boundaries become automatic when clarity is present, and your soulmate will begin to mirror this shift as well. They will become more protective of their space, more mindful of who they allow close, and more intentional with their choices, because they have learned something through this experience, something that cannot be taught through words alone. They have learned what it feels like to be influenced, and what it feels like to break free from that influence, and that lesson will stay with them in every decision they make moving forward, and it will strengthen not only their connection with you but their connection with themselves. And when Someone becomes aligned with themselves, they become capable of maintaining a connection that is stable and real, and that stability is what you are stepping into now, a phase where things no longer feel uncertain, where progress no longer feels blocked, and where emotions no longer feel manipulated by outside energy, and instead everything begins to move with a natural rhythm, one that does not need to be forced or rushed because it is unfolding exactly as it should. And this is also where you begin to understand the deeper purpose behind everything that happened, because what once felt like delay was actually protection, what once felt like confusion was actually a signal, and what once felt like distance was actually space being created for truth to come through. And now that truth has arrived, everything that follows will carry a different energy, an energy that is clear, grounded, and aligned with what is real. And as you move forward, you will no longer need constant reassurance, because your confidence in what you feel will be enough, and your soulmate's actions will begin to reflect that same certainty, creating a connection that feels mutual rather than one-sided, balanced rather than uncertain, and strong rather than fragile. And this strength will not come from perfection, it will come from understanding, because you have both seen what happens when something external tries to interfere, and you have both experienced what it takes to move through that interference and come out clearer on the other side. And that shared experience will become the foundation of something deeper, something that cannot be easily broken, because it has already been tested and proven through truth. And as time continues, you will notice that the past begins to lose its emotional weight. The confusion that once bothered you will no longer have the same impact. The questions that once kept you restless will no longer feel important, and the person who once created disruption will become nothing more than a distant memory, without influence, without control, and without presence in the direction your life is taking. And that is when you truly know that the cycle has closed, not because something ended suddenly, but because something completed fully, and completion brings peace in a way that nothing else can. And that peace is what you carry forward into this new chapter, a chapter where your connection is no longer defined by obstacles but by alignment, no longer shaped by outside forces but by mutual truth, and no longer delayed by what was hidden but guided by what has been revealed. And as you stand in this moment, you will realize that everything unfolded exactly as it needed to, not to harm you, not to confuse you, but to bring you to this exact point where you can move forward with clarity, strength, and a connection that is finally free to grow the way it was always meant to. And nothing that has been exposed can ever rebuild itself in the same way again, because once truth has done its work, it leaves no space for illusion to return. And that is your assurance that what you have now is protected not by force but by awareness, not by control but by alignment. And that kind of protection is permanent, because it lives within you and within the connection you share, moving forward into everything that is yet to come.